All righty, and we are back. And Beryl, I sure appreciate you being on the show. And now it's time to talk about jobs, because jobs are the big thing these days.
Yes.
And well, Tucson has never done that great with jobs. I don't think. That's my opinion. You can feed me back a little bit more on that in a moment. But what I really want to ask is just the core question. With me feeling Tucson has always been a city that could have been done better with jobs, in my opinion. What should the city do now to create the jobs, the good jobs that we want here? What should they do?
I think first and foremost, they need to work with the small businesses. Nationwide, small businesses create 80% of the jobs.
Wow.
And I heard here the other day, I don't remember it was 90% or 95 or 90% of the jobs that are in Tucson are small business.
Mm-hmm.
We need to not keep saying we support businesses and then turn around and do things that destroy business, i.e. the Grant Road situation I gave you, with 100 businesses that potentially could be destroyed.
That's horrible.
75% of the problems on Grant Road could be solved by bus turnouts, pullouts, and changing the intersections. It would save a tremendous amount of money. It would not create more roads that we have to, or wider roads that we have to repair all the time. And the other thing is when you have wider roads, it encourages more people to keep driving. And we need to get people out of their cars for the clean air and the ecosystems.
The bus system. I'm not real happy with the bus system, though, in all honesty. I think it could be a little better. In my opinion, that the east-west is going fast, every few minutes east-west. A lot of these north-souths, well, the connection's not right, and you have to wait an hour. So wouldn't we have a lot of work to do for that, don't you think?
Sure, but it's like traffic lights. We have to adjust traffic lights all the time also. So it's just a matter of figuring out how to
Just a matter of figuring out how to do it.
How to do it.
And I think that that would help our community. But I'm hoping that we can do these things and get people to be more green. But isn't being more green and having less pollution, isn't that an opportunity for more jobs somewhere in there?
Yes. We can create eco jobs. For instance, we throw away tons, literally tons of reusable material into the dumps. We could allow businesses to go in there and create a business by recycling. I mean, right now the city does a certain amount of that.
Right.
But if I have been to dumps where I've literally seen people throw perfectly good furniture into the dump.
Right.
And if I were to pick it up, I'd be fined.
Right. So there's all kinds of opportunities for us to have high-paying green jobs. And I will say another thing. I've noticed that, in my opinion, I don't have any data, but when I see these smaller business factories kind of deals going on, those are of my friends, those are the ones that seem to make the most money, than a lot of your larger, like say Walmart, for example. Not that I'm against Walmart, but I'm just saying that a small business, I can think of a lot of people that worked on a factory level for rather small businesses, anything from 5 to 50 employees, that make good wages by Tucson standards. So I definitely agree with you on helping small businesses. So, you talked to me about water. And I've heard about how there's laws about how we're supposed to be guaranteed a water supply of, what is it, how many years? 50? How many years should we have a guarantee? 100, 50, 25?
1,000.
1,000. Very good. That's a long time, but that's a way to think. So how are we going to make our water sustainable?
Well, Brad Lancaster has an idea, and he's done the figures, and he says if we would all water harvest off of our roofs, the amount of water that we could get off of our roofs would actually replace the amount of water that we're actually using right now. So it basically would make us, in that sense, sustainable. We wouldn't have to keep pumping. We wouldn't have to depend on the cap water, which we're not going to be able to, it's not reliable. I mean, with the drought and all the other servicers taking the water, and Mexico, the agreements that we have with Mexico, cap is not a reliable source. And as things go on, when we have no oil, there's no pumping. And the more we pump down those aquifers, the harder it is to pull it back up out, and the stronger pumps we need, so the more energy it takes. So we need to change that way of interrelating with our environment.
So you're telling me that water harvesting could actually, something as simple as water harvesting could...
That's what I've been told.
Wow.
That's what I've been told. That's the figure that I've heard.
Well, I'll tell you that I've heard a lot of, I've always kind of thought, until now, you're kind of making me think differently. I'd always thought that the only way out is to desalinate. And I've heard people complain that desalination can cause unforeseen problems in the environment. Storing the salt might be a problem. Making the ocean more salty might be a problem. And, you know, perhaps those problems are solvable, perhaps they're not. But if something as simple as water harvesting would work, then we might not need to take on something as drastic as desalination. Do you kind of agree with me on that?
I do. And also there's the transportation of the water. Again, it goes back to, I mean, the cap water has to come up steps just to get here. That's energy that it's taking to get there, to get it to us. The same thing would have to happen with the desalination plant. You'd have to not only do the desalination, but then you have to step it up to where it needs to go. You've got to make the routes, you've got to put the pipes in. That's all money, energy.
You might even have to, I know that one plant that pumps our water, or at least it used to, I haven't looked at it recently, but I know that one plant at least used to, if it still doesn't, used coal that was being strip mined to power it. So there's a big example right there.
Well, that's another good example of how we need to change our energy. Right now, the majority of the energy to run these lights and run this thing are being created by coal.
Right, it is.
And it's being brought over, shipped from someplace else to here to make our energy.
Right.
That takes oil. That takes energy. So we have to find a different way to create energy so that we don't have that high energy cost.
Right. And I'll just share this between me and you, and I know it, but it has always amazed me that I know that the energy lost when you pump electricity a long distances is great. It's way over 50%. It's somewhere in the 80% range, actually, which is surprising. But it's somewhere along those lines. I can't name the exact number, but that is really an amazing energy loss. And there are probably ways, if we think about it, to reduce that loss greatly. There's just so many things that is it back to the good old boy? Is that why we're not making these changes? Is it the good old boy system causing that? Why aren't we moving a little faster with this?
That's my belief, that there's a lot of people that are they're afraid of change. They've been making money the way it is. Take the oil companies, for instance. The oil companies, if they would take on the new energy things, they could get into it on the ground floor, and by the time it got going, they would be the ones
making the money.
Exactly.
I know. I haven't ever been able to figure that out. They're well positioned for that.
Yes.
Yet they seem to really, really want to do everything they can to hold on to that oil. And I think basically that's it. They're making big bucks that way, and they're afraid of changing. I would tell them that if the kind of money that they're making, that if they were to lose a little, you know, they're super rich anyway. So it would only mean that at worst they buy a few less mansions or have the ability to buy a few less mansions. It doesn't make any difference after a while. So I would definitely totally agree with you on that. And speaking of good old boys, I want to go back to Rudy. Now Rudy's a different kind of good old boy. He's a really good guy, and he's about my age, so he's not real young. But he's what, even though, you know, he doesn't like talk loud and whatever, but if I wanted a good old boy to be something different than what it was, be a positive thing, it would be Rudy. So if in a minute we can we pull up Rudy there and have Rudy, you'll love this next song. Like I told you, I picked Rudy just for you because I feel that Rudy is a wonderful match for you.
Broken A la Hotel Zona Rosa, where did I come here for? Senor, I'd run, the damage has been done. Miles in time away, and me amor no vuelvo choir. I look up at the sky, I will try not to cry, uno te cate and thinking of you underneath the Mexican moonlight, thinking of you underneath the Mexican moonlight. I see a million years, a million tears behind your eyes. Take me home, take me to La Zona Rosa, mariachis and tequila. I will dance the night alone. Sometime, just a little peace of mind. Take me where I can forget, senor. You are so very